Oh, what did you? I'm done.
He is so funny.
Somebody should, right?
You have to get in line. You have to get in line.
You already have a
Oh,
membership.
Join us.
I don't know.
You got it.
Welcome back, Dan.
Oh, I'm
Thank
on.
you.
Yeah.
I'm on a Zoom right here.
Good trip.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Jim,
Ooh, extra pens on
this-
there.
should this microphone move between Dan and I, or do you want it to stay here?
That could be wherever you think that'll be better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's good.
I just didn't want to disturb the setup there.
Yeah.
Or what that screeching sound, yeah.
Whoa. That is a license. Sorry, you make that.
Before I look at the agenda, I was. You know, long meeting, and then there's 3 pages of consent agenda.
Yeah,
I'm
it
like,
was.
yes.
It took me 2 hours to do those. Yes.
That's how it consent goes.
Well, prepare it, yeah.
Fine.
Oh, I know, you're still skipping over it, not reading it all. It's a consent agenda. So you have to skip consent.
None of this matters.
It's done. You don't have to worry about this.
I know, it's crazy.
We're back to the art of skimming.
That's right.
Did you read the chief's 179-page document?
Yes,
No.
of course.
Oh. In your spare time.
Oh, man, that's not even fair.
Yeah,
So he needs to get somebody to turn on the graphic to do it.
I did want to ask what the acting expert.
Years.
There's no-
And I can't say anything.
We need an acronym guide
Yeah.
for the town, for the town.
That's what she wants to do.
And then have the state.
Oh.
We've never met, I don't think, this year.
So nice to meet you. Where's the cheese?
Are we ready?
Oh. So we ever.
Oh, it's a secret.
I'll be ready in a minute.
Recording in progress.
Yeah, no.
So I'm gonna call the select board meeting of Tuesday, April 26th to order. And the first item is approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. I'll note that there's 3 changes that are posted. Item 3F, approval of renewal applications for first, second, third class liquor licenses, outside consumption permits and entertainment permits. Agenda addition of item 4A, public assemblage permit request for midsummer market. And then deletion, item 9, approval of the town's consent to the merger between Addison Partnership and the Smith Partnership, and the Addison Partnership being surviving partnership. It's not ready for share. Is there anything else anybody would like to know about? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the amended agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's not, wait a minute. Next is approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Seconded, I would like to note it's a pretty full consent agenda. And so, just to draw attention to a few things, Ken Prine has been, we're appointing Ken Prine on this consent agenda to the final remaining public seat on the Ilsley 100 project team. Very qualified candidate for that seat, and nice round out of that committee.
Yahoo, that's great.
Yeah.
We dragged him out of the,
Did you drag him?
wherever he was hiding. He was hiding for
I
his
know.
computer.
That's what he gets for coming out with the whole Seymour Street thing,
Another is an authorization for me to sign the certificate of local government approval for nonprofit organizations receiving housing opportunity grant program funds. It's a long thing, but it's for the Charter House Coalition to apply for a grant. Town manager's report included a couple nice nuggets. The project kickoff meeting for the preliminary design of Port Charles and Monroe intersection, that Vassily intersection that seems to be the big holdup that we're trying to solve on the flow of Port Street. And the sidewalk from the rail platform to the downtown, and I think I read that we got a grant on that, $100,000 or something. So that's great, that's a great kickoff to getting that taken care of, so. And
Did we get an extension on that grant yet? Okay.
flood resiliency project is almost done or done now?
Almost done, just tidying up a few loose ends. Let's see.
Is there anything else that anybody would like to draw attention to? Anything in the notes that anybody would like to list? Number of minutes? Are there any changes in the minutes? that anybody would like? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda as written, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next is citizen comments. Is there anybody here for something that is not on the agenda? Is there anybody online?
No one online has a hand raised.
Okay. Then we will move forward to the public assemblage permit request for the midsummer market. And Amy and Dan, you want to come forward?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for adding us to the agenda. I'm Nan Carpenter. I'm the Morrison Carpenter president
We all agree with that, so.
tonight. I think I've met most of you. I'm Nan Carpenter, and I was appointed manager for the new market by Karen DeGay, and she unfortunately can't make it tonight. She has parental duties, conflict of interest doing the Key Wait and Keep. You guys ever experienced having kids going through the Keep program? So she's camping it out the last 2 days. So I'm going to go over, we are looking to start this market. I know that Farhad gave you a little bit of information on it. I think it was in March. So I think you're familiar with some of it. I'm going to go over the details and point by point. If you have any questions, just stop me or save it for the end. But basically, the market is going to be on Thursday, starting May 19th. I know there was just like a discrepancy with Farhad on the correct one, but I think you guys got the correct date of May 19th. It'll be every Thursday going until October 6th, weather permitting, if you don't get a snowstorm at that time or whatever the weather will be. It's going to be from 3 to 7 every evening, and it's open to everybody. We really want to have a diversity of different vendors, produce, homemade goods, basically artisans, anything that you could think of. We're really extending it out there. We put flyers out already to pull in some vendors. We do have people signing up already, which is great. We need more. And basically, let's see, we're gonna have it in the Triangle Park. I have a map that I tried to put together to give you an idea. This is not the best map, but it gives you an idea. We're looking to have 12 to 15 vendors. We might have more if we have a lot of interest, but on the average, we're shooting for 12 to 15 vendors each Thursday. And we want to basically have it in the Triangle Park. There's going to be music supplied every Thursday, and the Town Hall Theater is contracted to do that. And we're hoping to put the band in the gazebo where there's electricity. We do have some vendors that need electricity, so I don't know if you can conceptualize the park in your mind, but there's the area closest to the lights that has electricity, so we have about 4 spots that we could put people there. I will let Amy talk about the electricity issue that we're encountering, but I'll pass this around. The vendor spaces are gonna be 10 by 10. So we're thinking in the green grass area, we can fit in about 7 vendors, and then 2 and 2 near where the rocks are. We're thinking if we need to and we have more people, we'd like to possibly extend it to Merchants Row. And I don't know if you've been aware, but there was the bundle market that they had at one point. Certain vendors were put along there. We are asking permission to have the business owners on Main Street or wherever else to potentially have a sidewalk sale and to be able to put their wares out in front of their store. We like to encourage businesses to stay open till 7 if they can, just to get people to go around town. We're looking at any businesses going into Frog Hollow to hopefully have them participate in this also. We want it to grow, so we're hoping that we'll need more space. And we're gonna have a food truck only occasionally. We don't want it every week. We're thinking maybe once a month. If, you know, the need is out there, maybe twice a month, but it will basically, the truck will basically be by the Town Hall Theater alley. We're hoping to have that there. Any questions so far? I've kind of hit a lot of points.
I'm a little confused on the geometry of this.
It's a
Sorry.
horrible, and I
I
did
get
the
that.
best I could.
But my understanding, and I pulled up an aerial just because, the gazebo is kind of, the church is kind of between the gazebo and Triangle Park.
I know, it was so the gazebo, if you go towards the right,
Yeah,
you're facing the church, you go towards the right. If you take that little sidewalk, the gazebo's there.
yeah,
So we're thinking that we might even put a couple of vendors so that the flow goes toward,
gotcha.
yeah,
Okay.
there also. So that's where you see a couple of extra squares on the map. That's,
It's a fairly decent line of sight between the
Okay.
two. And in years past, when we've had Spooktacular, we've always
Mhm.
had the MC in that area, and it's carried over fairly well.
we're hoping.
Good.
She was the architect of the house.
Oh
my God.
And the drawing she gave you?
Not to scale, and don't ask me to measure anything,
It's all
because
right.
I never hear the end of measuring our new refrigerator, and the wall had to go down because when the new refrigerator came in and it wasn't that measurement, so,
Okay.
okay.
It's not on.
Let's see, we're gonna have a booth, along with all the other vendors. Kind of gonna be the Better Middlebury Partnership booth, where we actually had a meeting with some businesses that were able to Zoom. It was supposed to be in person. Karen was not well. Fortunately, she was victim of the COVID.
Mhm.
So we had it on Zoom. Not everybody was able to make it, but we are still going to connect with some of the business owners so that we encourage that their businesses are going to succeed with this too. So we came up with the idea, if you have any promotions, any flyers that they want to put into that tent area, we're looking at kind of coming up with a map to show where other businesses are in town, that if people go there, they can see what else, they can see, you know, where to go eat, other food options. So we did that. We're looking to have one tent option for nonprofit organizations. I know we have one set already for 2019. We have, let's see, we're also kind of reaching out to the farmers market. We're really trying to encourage them to pass along to their vendors to try it out, to come into this market to see how they like it downtown. So we're giving them a discount, half the price, 50% off than what it would cost to have a table there and a tent. And we've actually had some of the vendors already reaching out to us too. We're very excited about that. So we'll see how that's encouraged. We are offering 1-2 table tents that we can supply for emerging artists. Their first time, they don't have anything, we want to see how it's going to go. They don't have to pay the fee, and we're helping them out with the table and tent. So we have excited people on that. Oh, let's see. Karen's going to come up with a better map to really show where the vendors are going to be, because that's what we're going to give to the vendors in an email so they know where they're going to be. Also, loading and unloading. Karen did reach out to Tom Hanley and his suggestion, because we were thinking, are we going to have to cone off a couple of parking spaces, but he came up with a good idea. Again, where the map is, it's not that great, but in front of the church and kind of on Merchants Row, there's those crosswalks, and they have the cobble by them, so it makes it kind of wide. He suggested having that as a spot for drop off for loading and unloading. So the market's starting at 3. We're telling vendors you need to be there at 2, no sooner than 2, and you have to be done by 2:45, so you're ready to go at 3. And the same thing, it goes until 7, so they're gonna have to take everything down. So those spots will be used. And Tom Hanley said to come up with a sign that says crosswalk is closed, so we keep the safety. But we're not closing anything else off. There's not gonna be a road closed or anything. Does that make sense? Everybody's clear on that? Some more points. Amy, did you have anything to add?
I just want to add that there are a couple of other events that are happening in town that we will avoid, for instance, Festival and Green Walnut Market. That week, we don't want to be in competition, certainly not direct competition with other things that are happening.
No, too hard to coordinate them.
We are going to coincide with, we spoke with Lloyd Comsar with the Middlebury Film Makers Festival. So he at first had questions and was concerned it was going to be too much for both of the events to occur on a Thursday together, but when he found out about it, he was all on board. So it looks like we're a go for that time frame too.
Very good.
With the vendors, one of the concerns, Nan alluded to it, is the availability of power in Triangle Park. And what we have discovered during other events when we tried to set up things that required power is that the power outlets are up at the top of the pole. And so on more than one occasion, don't tell OSHA, I have climbed a ladder to get up there to, get lights or whatever. Or we've had a bucket truck out there, or, somebody out there to plug in the lights. So one thing just to think about, and Kathleen and I talked about this might be more of a DIDC thought, but about moving the power or somehow trying to figure out where we can have a centrally located power source, similar to what the college did over on the park here, where they have a lockbox, and when they have an event there, they give you a key, you unlock the box, you plug your stuff in, and it provides enough power to whomever is doing their thing there. So I just wanted to make a note of that. We will have to provide power, I'm sure, to some of the vendors here, and it will probably be in the form of extension cords, I imagine, which, is unsightly and a tripping hazard, and probably some electrical, it's probably not the best way to provide power to multiple sources. I think if the town's okay with us tapping into that power, that's really the only way we can do that.
What's power for?
I think the vendors will probably need power sources for different things that they have at their.
There's going to be some food, so they'll need to plug in heat to keep food warm or to keep cold food cold. Like we're gonna have, like an icy station, so we're gonna, yeah, do things. That's okay, okay. So we are looking to also have some, alcohol makers come. I'm still trying to figure out, because we're requesting that. Now, we've never done this, because I know you've done the stroll, and usually anybody who's bought their alcohol and has given samplings, it's been on, business property. So we're working through that, they're requesting it. We'd like them to be able to do that. We're not gonna have like an alcohol section, they'll be intermingled, kind of like the farmer's market, they've had that too, where they've had different people come, and I don't know though if they've ever let people sample it.
I don't know, Karen's reached out to Ann Webster, and they've been coordinating or communicating about the process to do that.
Yeah, we're aware that anybody who might bring their alcohol has to fill out a farmer's market through the, Vermont state. Yeah, exactly. So we'll make sure, because I know the requirement is that they are trained with the DLC, like how to check for IDs and all that stuff and be responsible. So but that's something we like to offer. I don't have anybody so far, but we haven't really pursued and knocked on people's door yet, but that's something we would like to see. It will be a rain or shine event. The only way that we'll cancel it is the weather's dangerous. And then there's will have to be, lightning. Yeah, we don't want anybody to get hurt. So we'll have to refund the vendors in a case like that, but it would kind of be a day of decision. I think we can by then if we were going to get bad weather. We're constructing a vendor market rules and regulation form. So I know that's something that goes with the alcohol permit also. They have to present our rules and regulations. Karen's already come up with a good form, but we haven't tweaked it yet. But basically it's just letting people know when they're not welcome back and making sure that they're responsible for cleaning up their own messes. And I think we'll have some bins for people, those who are coming to the market to be able to have access to trash potentially, but the vendors themselves have to take care of their own
And
trash.
the DPW has been great, like when we've had other events, they just put extra bags out, we bag it up, leave it by the trash cans, and they come in. Yeah.
And the last thing is basically, I'm sure people are gonna be looking for bathrooms, so Karen's looking into maybe getting a porta potty. I think I was just asking Amy, like, what does Festival on Green do? And I think they tuck in a porta potty. Yeah. So she's gonna look at the cost of that. I mean, it is just so many hours. It'd be nice if some places would be open at the time, potentially here, I don't know. Where we could say there's bathrooms in these locations.
Yeah, the issue with the porta potty, I think, is that if you wouldn't want to pick it up and deliver it every week, and so then the cost is exponentially higher. You can lock them. Seems weird to have a porta potty and somebody sees it, goes over to it, can't get in, and does what they do somewhere close by. So we're trying to figure that out. It's only 3 to 7, so it's not like an all day event.
We do have the porta potty out here that's already set out here, so you could potentially point people to the direction of the parking lot.
Should make lots of sense.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It's gotta be the default.
Because that will stay, that's there until fall, so.
That might
It
solve
is
things.
a handicap accessible porta potty out there.
Yeah. So that's everything I had to present to you,
Awesome.
and I hope I covered most of the things, but I'm sure you guys have questions.
It sounds like you guys are providing tents and tables for some of the vendors,
Just, we only have enough for about 2 vendors.
and so that's for the new artists and the nonprofit, or just new artists?
No, the nonprofit will have to supply their own, so it's just the newbies.
And they probably, I would say, any of the ones that are here locally probably have a 10 by 10. And I have a couple extra tables at my office, so if you can call them out.
Be generous.
Thank you.
Any questions? Pleasure of the board.
I move to approve the public assemblage permit for the Better Middlebury Partnership Midsummer Market Series located at Triangle Park and Merchants Row, pending state permitting and public safety review.
All approved? All in favor? Oh, you have a question?
No, I got it.
Oh, I, it looked like you was going.
I know, you look like
Right.
something on his mind.
There's a big eye coming out of it.
That's- Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Really hope that goes.
I think,
Good.
I think
There's
this,
a good buzz already about it.
yeah, I think people are really excited, so.
It is exciting, great.
All right, thanks
Thanks,
so much.
One thing I do know, they coordinated with Middlebury Inn. Middlebury Inn is moving their jazz tonight to Wednesday.
Oh, nice.
So, Dan and I tried it out last Thursday. And it was very, very nice. So, Middlebury is not dead.
No, it's not that.
That's awesome.
Next is appointments to boards, committees, commissions, and official positions. In accordance with 24 VSA section 147-308, the board will appoint candidates to the town's open board, committee, commission, and town officer positions. We have a slate of candidates in front of us. The board placed a nomination at our April 12th meeting. Of note, 5 panels have more applicants than open positions. That's the first time that this many interested people. And believe me, we have been struggling over this, and we go through it and ask for some opinions. And every single person who put in applications have a level of experience that excel value to that particular board or committee. So this is not going to be an easy decision. So with that, let's jump in. So the first one is the planning commission. I'm just going to go from page 1 through page 4 in that order. If you want to follow along with that. Planning commission. I would like to first thank Barbara Saunders, who is stepping down. She's seeking not to be reappointed. Barbara's been on the planning commission for quite a while and chaired it most recently. So thank you, Barbara, for your service. And then Angela Landis is seeking reappointment. And Ethan Kellogg and Phyllis Simpson. So, find my applications here, so I'll follow along with the applications.
I would note that Ethan Kellogg is in our audience.
Looking through, and by matter of course, which might help us with this, those that are on all of the different boards, committees, and commissions that are seeking reappointment. Given that we do not have a policy on rotation, we talked about it, but we haven't actually established one. At this point, I think it would move us to keep them on board while we work on their committees, while we work through it. And so we're working basically on new applications to appoint to different committees. Just a thought in, as we go through. So it's just my thought. We created a buzz a few years ago by replacing people and not having a policy. And we really need to get to a point of tracking how many terms, and if we want to create some sort of a rotation, but our intent was to try to have new blood and just provide opportunities for people to serve. And it did go whatever it is. Lesson learned category, I would say we should keep them until we actually have a process.
So one suggestion I had would, if possible, and I hate to ask Kathleen for more work, but maybe Crystal could fill in, is to add years served, a column on that spreadsheet that shows us, some indication of how long they've been serving. Not that, just so we have that for more information.
One other piece that I think sometimes comes up here is that attendance is not always great. And that's something that I would tend to want to consider when I'm looking at re-upping people for boards and commissions.
How many meetings they, yeah, can we add that column too? That's a great suggestion. So the other thing I worry about too, when we have such a great list of people to choose from, is if they keep applying and we don't get them in, that they'll say, well, I keep applying, but I never get a chance, you know? So that's one thing I think about too, and that why I want to see some of these other people who have interest have an opportunity as well. But it's obviously a big struggle for me to figure out how to do that.
Several of our boards and committees have alternates. Is that something that we created, or is that, so we could conceivably at least create an alternate in each of the committees?
Not necessarily for the ones that are state statute, right? So planning, the commissions, so the planning commissions, the development review board, some of those we don't have the ability to.
Well, that would be a good one, because we could use space.
I'm not sure about the design advisory committee. I can't remember.
Because when you say the planning commission, you just create an alternate. That's enough.
Kathleen can confirm, but I don't think so.
For the planning commission, we can't make an alternate decision.
That's my understanding, yes. You had one in the past, but I think that's before we fully understood that that was specified in statute.
So if we do reappoint incumbents, and looking at Ethan and Phyllis as candidate, either said Ethan is in the audience?
Yes.
Care to share with us his thoughts on how we make this decision?
Ethan, I'm bringing you into the meeting.
Kathleen, do you encourage candidates to attend the appointment select board meeting?
Don't encourage or
That's fine. Very good.
Hi.
Hi, Ethan. As you probably hear us,
Nice to meet you all.
yes, nice to meet you. You probably hear us struggling with this decision here.
Yeah, it sounds like I need some different rules, and I don't know how it works too much, but
So why don't you give some highlights of your interest in this position?
Okay, I mean, I've attended several of the planning commission. I just moved to Middlebury in last August. And I've attended several of the planning commission, I think 2 or 3 of them, to try to, figure out how it works and that kind of stuff. And really enjoyed it, and definitely enjoyed, the projects that the planning commission is working on. And big thing for me is, housing affordability, and I don't have any formal experience in planning, but I'm a striving grad school candidate, so I want to go to grad school for planning. So I thought this would be a real great way to learn about the field more and really make a difference in the town. So I personally think that there should be more I think the building code should be loosened and easier to build, allow for more density, limit suburban sprawl. There's a lot of reasons for all that, but I really enjoyed reading about the Middlebury master plan that came out a couple years ago. I like the direction that was going for all the locations that they were chosen around town that could be developed on. And yeah, I want to get in and work on that stuff and make Middlebury a more livable, walkable community. So I thank you for having me apply and whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ethan. Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you too.
Put you back in the audience.
So that's what it's by chance.
Not online.
And Phyllis is applying for 3,
Three possibilities.
and
they're
the
not
3 most
ranked orders.
contentious.
What's that?
The 3 most contentious.
Right, and I did read that they're not in rank order.
Right.
So,
The way that they
There,
call,
there is more information on the board and committee appointments that does rank her choice. Like on development review board, it says her first choice.
Well, I think that's because that was the way they were listed
Oh,
here.
okay. But,
But
on
she
her
does-
application, it
on her
says no.
application,
Okay.
yes. So, so, what did the board, anybody care the recommendation on this one?
I would move the appointment, Angela Corbin Landis and Ethan Keller, the planning commission.
I agree.
Second.
You're seconding?
Okay, sorry. Didn't know we were voting. I didn't
We're
hear
not
that.
voting.
We're
We're
not
not
voting.
voting.
I didn't hear the motion.
Oh, yeah, you did the motion. Are you,
Just your way.
yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying.
Okay.
I didn't bring my baseball bat.
I think with the look them as we go through it, so, any comments on the motion to appoint Angela? You're not all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you, Ethan. Next is the Development Review Board. Rick Emelo, I would like to thank Rick also on deciding to step down from his appointment. I'm not sure how many years, but I know Rick has done a lot of service to the community over the years, so thank you, Rick. Mark Welch, and then Compet is asking to seek a reappointment. And then we have 4 candidates for Rick's 3-year position. Peter Bowe, Michael Reeves, Jonathan Miller, and Phyllis Stetson.
So Michael Reeves is here in our audience, and we also have Jonathan Miller on Zoom.
Okay, so Michael, we just refresh we mentioned at the last meeting, but just refresh the board here.
So hi, again, I'm Michael Reeves. I live 719 Washington Street Extension, so I'm on what is called Bushy Hill, Bushy Curve. And so, as I explained last week, I've had a lot of interactions with the Development Review Board over the last year. You know, I've become really familiar with their processes. I think it's a good role for me to, you know, come into as, you know, into a position within the town and serve the town. As I explained last week, I'm a social worker. I'm a professor at Castleton. You know, want to bring that perspective to some of these decisions that are being made. So, you know, supporting vulnerable populations, while at the same time making sure that we maintain the small New England town vibe that we have here. So it's a careful balancing act. I think I would be a good person for this position. I would appreciate your support.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
So I'll promote to Jonathan Miller. Hello, Jonathan.
Hi, Jonathan.
You're on mute.
Jonathan, would you care to share with the board your interest in this position?
I'm interested in serving for any of the committees that I'm up for all, whatever. I'm a very technically minded person. My dad was a city. Started working with a legal or Ladehurst in Pennsylvania. Currently, I write certifications for master's study. I've also served on a number of boards, mostly professional boards, but also co-op boards. President, vice president, secretary, treasurer, chairman of many committees, including CSI certification committee where I maintain dams for the country, for the construction process. So with that expertise, I'm positioned to understand the structure, positioned to understand design and design review. I've been a technical architect most of my life, but I've also been a project designer. So I do have some credentials as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any questions that you would have?
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. You know, I have previous application in front of me. Worked for the town since May of '99, worked for the town since 2011. Saw something really different, some real estate. Jonathan. Phyllis.
Jonathan has also put his name in for infrastructure.
DIBC, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, both
Yeah.
Phyllis and Jonathan are interested in doing this.
Phyllis's application.
It's towards the beginning.
Up towards the,
Um,
I just looked at.
Yeah, it's, after Ethan's,
Yeah, I looked at it.
page 3 of the 30.
Yeah. Okay. Thoughts on this?
I'll nominate, Mark Welch and Michael Reeves.
I'll second.
Nomination for Mark Welch and Michael Reeves. Comments on questions? Hearing none? You said,
More so like a comment. I was thinking about Phyllis. Because I see when I look at the makeup of the board, because everyone seems from their application qualified. But yeah, Phyllis.
It's a tough, this tough,
I know it's not.
I think all 4 of them would do a fabulous job on the board. And so how do you choose just one?
which is what you're saying is diversity and
Yes.
makeup of the board on diversity. Case in this case, it's going to be almost except for one.
Yes, right.
That's a good point.
I was thinking about that.
That brings conclusion to the discussion.
Almost all of our boards are dominated by males. Significant.
Is there another one? Phyllis.
Well, Phyllis is also in for the DIDC. And there's only one position there, but there's 3 applicants, but the DIDC, we could put an alternate in there. That might be a good place.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. That's a discussion on comment. We ready to vote then? Okay. So all in favor of the motion to nominate Mark Welch and Michael Reeves for the Development Review Board, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Is that a position?
Opposition, yes. Sorry, okay. First time I'm opposing.
It's okay. Good.
It's good.
It's good to have. Folks.
For good reason.
Yeah.
I think we're going to use it on the recommended report. So, congratulations. Thank you. Design Advisory Committee. We have 2 positions, 3 applicants. We have two incumbents are seeking reappointment. And George Marcus is a new applicant seeking appointment.
Is this a committee we could put an alternate on also?
I think you could.
Because George Marcus has got a resume
I know.
that's just as amazing. We need to bring him in the fold.
Are you ready to make a motion? No, I just said, are you ready to make a motion?
Well, I move to appoint Natalie Peters and Glenn Andrews and make George Marcus an alternate.
Second, comments on the motion. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Quick question, if there's a board with an opening, are we obliged to fill it only at this organizational meeting, or can we fill it on a rolling basis?
Roll the basis.
Very good.
If somebody drops off,
If there's a vacancy and no one drops off, and someone expresses an interest outside of the site.
so if we didn't get a fill on
Yeah.
something. Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, as the County Regional Planning Commission, it's got 3 positions, 3 applicants.
Is this deadbeat dropping off?
That's
Slacker.
We have a Mr. Andy Cooper, who's dropping off. Thank you. It was a great, so this is where breaking into the community, getting to know the community.
Oh.
That's how I got on the select board too. is that was on the, you should call it the town infrastructure, it was public works.
Sure.
I was on public works committee for quite a few years.
Um,
The board?
Yeah, I'll move the appointment of Ross Conrad from McLaughlin and Barbara Remalt to the Addison County Regional Planning Commission.
Second.
Comments on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
I'll make a motion to appoint Hugh McLaughlin to the Addison County Regional Planning Commission TAC as our TAC delegate.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll also make a motion to appoint Donald Keeler to the Sports Commission.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. I'll move to appoint Kathleen Ramsey, our delinquent tax collector.
Second.
I don't know.
The appropriate person to do that.
I've gotten a lot of broken arms reported and stuff. I don't know. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. I'll move to appoint Fred Dunnington, Tim Hollander, and Janine Highland to the Art Fence Viewers.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Beth, thank you for, I don't know how many years of service to our community, but I know it ranks up there amongst those with the most years of service, so thank you very much. Beth is stepping down from being a fence viewer, going into full retirement almost here. Gonna travel?
No, Deb stepped up to be a fence viewer a couple of years ago. But
That was when we couldn't get it.
that's when we couldn't get any applicants.
She always stepped it up for lots of different things. So. Okay,
I'll move to appoint Fred Dunnington to the town grand juror.
Richard, with all these officers.
Oh, all of them, sorry.
Just appoint all of them.
Should I save all of this? I'll move to appoint all officers, or do you want me to list them all? First Constable Chief Tom Hanley, Second Constable Barry Barclay, Town Agent Fred Dunnington, Town Grand Juror Fred Dunnington, Town Service Officer Kathleen Ramsey, Tree Warden Chris Zioli, Zoning Administrative Officer Jennifer Murray, Deputy Zoning Administrative Officer David Webber.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, EIDC. We haven't appointed either of them.
Third choice.
It's also down for
Even more con-
And we could have an alternate on the DIDC?
Yes.
So,
They all are.
Yeah.
They all are.
Yeah.
Oh,
These are the-
yeah, he has some-
side conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're, you know, because this kind of reflects on infrastructure also, because it names.
Oh, the discussion on this one.
Yeah. So we would be kind of talking about that together. I was just asking the chair, if she's remaining very neutral.
So I'll make a motion to appoint Bill Cunningham, reappoint Cunningham to the Downtown Improvement District and set up an alternate and appoint Phyllis Stinson to the alternate position for the Downtown Improvement District.
Comments on that? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Now, Energy Committee,
I'll move to appoint Richard Hopkins, Steve Mayer, and Michael Wood.
Second?
any comments on that motion? Lisa has been on there for a while. Lisa, I know you're stepping down, so thank you for your service on our town energy committee, which has been very busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, got
Yeah.
a lot of stuff, moved forward. So, exciting. Given the times. All in favor of the motion for Richard, Steve, and Michael? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Town Infrastructure Committee.
Jeff, back at 6 years.
And we talked with Jonathan. And Richard was here at our last select board meeting, and he was also at the infrastructure committee meeting last week.
You say Jeff was?
Just
There you are, okay.
Nice.
Come on forward, yes.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Congratulations to everyone who's newly elected or re-elected to the select board. Thank you for your service. My interest in the infrastructure committee probably stems back to my experiences in the town as a young parent, someone who's lived in town for about 5 years, and just trying to get under the hood a little bit and see how we can make Middlebury more sustainable to build a thriving community for the future. I notice on a lot of these communities, there are folks with engineering, design, planning backgrounds. I myself have a design and engineering background. the strengths that I bring is a perspective of someone who has kids in school today, and has planned to be here for the long term. On this, aside from the diversity questions that I brought up, a lot of the community members have a wealth of life experience. And I think that I would like to see the town moving forward with as many different views in the diversity of ages, genders, and in every other way. So I think it's amazing that we have so many applicants. It's really incredible. It's something that it sounds like it's not happening in a long time. And I thought that out of all the committees where I saw myself fitting in, having attended the infrastructure committee last week, maybe would see people that, you know, some of my core interests in building the town together. So I really appreciate the efforts of all of you, the time you put into it. Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here, Jeff.
Are you the dad with the red however?
I'm one of them.
Well, it's a brand.
Yeah, I
You can use it with your kids.
do. Yeah, I haven't driven our Subaru as often.
Except on the, how many kids you got on
Getting big. It has 2 on it today, but with their backpacks, I'm gonna have to come up with some of the cargo. It's sort of a minivan.
there? I've seen it, okay, I've
Put the trailer in the back.
Is that like what Dusty's, that's,
That's great.
yeah.
Yeah, he is the same.
Is he got the same way? I saw him taking his kids to school this morning and they were piled on the back. Looked like a minivan.
It's
Pretty
more
cool.
like a minivan.
Oh, man. Okay.
I don't have anything else to add.
Yes.
Thank you.
So there's only 5 positions on the infrastructure, plus the 2 select board.
Yes,
So, and you already have an alternate there.
yes. Matt Bishop has resigned from the committee. And Eric Remsen who is the current alternate, has been attending regularly and filling in for Matt. So I would request that the board consider appointing Eric to a full member of the committee. I think that's a good next step for him, as having served alternate and filled in Matt's absence.
Okay, so that means that we would have,
We have an alternate.
we have an alternate
One
position.
position.
Okay, thanks.
Yes. Well,
Is that
Four-
expanding
four
the
to-
board?
what?
Is that expanding the board?
No. We have an alternate already.
Alternates in the middle of that list.
Yes, that I see 3 positions seeking reappointment. And then 3 new candidates for 3 seats.
No,
All right, but Eric is gonna move
you
into
got, you got one up top that has recently stepped down. He's got his own business.
It's a board.
Oh, I'm looking at the
Leans
old
over
version.
it, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I'm looking at last meeting's version with, as Matt, never mind.
So we're looking for one alternate.
Somebody want to put it down? Because I don't know how else to choose. I wish I could put all 3 of them on the committee.
That's good. I'm excited. Everybody is welcome to come to any meeting.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
I will nominate Candy McLaughlin Judy Weather-Rose, if there's any, to infrastructure committee, and Jeff Rasmus as an alternate.
Second.
Moving Eric to the
And move Eric from alternate to.
alternate. You agree with that? You second?
Yeah.
This is, tough. It does, you know, I'm just looking at it though, that Jeff's made a good point. When you're looking at diversity, the diversity of age is also something to consider. And probably our only useful applicant here. Not that-
A lot of retired people that can make a 9 a.m. Thursday meeting.
you know.
It's a challenging time.
Okay, comments on the motion?
My only disappointment is that I wanted to get Jonathan Miller in on something, and this does not get him a position. And he had interest in 3, so.
What we've done sometimes, what we've done in the past though, is we take this list of people within this position for, and as we have needs of boards, we reach out to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, there's a
I don't
number,
know,
there's a
it
number of
might
very
be hard.
qualified people that we're not appointing tonight because there's not space.
One thing to consider is asking, I know he didn't list it on his thing, but one committee that does have room, 2 vacancies is the sports commission. And I don't know if any of the people who might not get a spot in what their first choice would, might consider trying that out even for a year and just see. I think they do.
Does he, does Don meets with himself, that'd be,
No, there's other, so
Interstate.
it's a combination board, right? So this is the Middlebury's portion of that board. So it's not just Don.
Is it regional or is it school and town?
It's the sports commission,
Oh,
it's like
man.
related to
Really?
Memorial Sports Center, right?
Yeah.
It's
It runs-
other
it runs the
towns,
six.
right, other towns in,
Well, it's like the Middlebury area.
right, yeah.
Okay.
I would have to look it up to remember who's on it. So one thing to consider is maybe people who didn't get a spot tonight, see if any of them would consider that, because there are 2 vacancies on that.
And we could reach out to them with vacancies like on the sports commission, if there's anything else, that we have, or like Brian says, when vacancies occur.
Okay, any other comments? So we have a motion, Eric into a full-time position, reappointing Candy, Judy, and Luther, and appointing Jeff as the new alternate. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
So Jeff, just for reference, you should plan to come to all the meetings, because there's always, not always, there is often at least one person not there, and you will have opportunity, you always have the opportunity to participate, but you probably more than likely also have voting, because, people's schedules and after this meeting, so you should plan to come to all the meetings as alternate.
I appreciate that. I have one question. It sounds like the alternates vote regularly.
Yes.
Would there be an appetite to have maybe not now, but in the future, to have a first alternate and a second alternate if there's that much absenteeism?
We talked about that before the meeting tonight. We need to look at that, but we got some names now, if we decide we want to do that. We haven't had that opportunity previously, but to look at the committees and the participation, if there is absenteeism.
So you know, like Jonathan and Richard or anyone else who we haven't appointed tonight, like Lindsay said earlier, these are open committee meetings and people can attend and participate even though they are not sitting on the board. So I hope that we get people to participate even if they're not appointed. So.
Okay, moving along, Parks and Recreation Committee. We've got 3 positions, 2 of them, these are termed, 2 are 3-year terms. 1 is a 1-year term. Kyle Mitchell resigned in 2021, and we haven't filled that position. Megan Curran and Carl Robinson are seeking reappointment. And then we have Isabel Bugarty, Ethan Murphy, and Melissa Kim. Are any of those 3 here?
We have Ethan online. I'll promote it to him.
Hi, Ethan. Care to share with us your interest in the Parks and Recreation Committee?
Yeah, thank you for considering me for, considering my application for that role in the Parks and Recreation Committee. I hope you all had a chance to read my letter of interest, but if not, I can do a quick recap here. I've been in Middlebury since 2008. I have 2 kids. I'm married husband right now. I'm about to move on to months next year. And this is kind of my first dipping my toes into the local government, and it's giving me a chance to dive into the Middlebury Town planning report, the Vermont recreation master plan, those kinds of things. I attended my first Parks and Rec meeting. All candidates were invited last week, and it was great to see that process. And I really just want to kind of work as part of that committee and advisory role to your board. I'm really interested in kind of enhancing the outdoor recreational programming opportunities that the town has to offer. I'm working with a group of people right now on the Middlebury Selectboard project, and that's kind of my laser focus. But I was a little late to this meeting tonight because I'm also coaching baseball and partaking in all the many recreational resources and opportunities that the town already has to offer. So I think I can be an asset and work in a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You say there was another one?
There's
I know I'm hearing a lot of buzz about the skateboard park. Yeah, and we looked at that back when I was on the Parks and Rec committee. I forget what the impediment was in moving that forward at the time, but there was interest. And there was some funds that could go towards it, potentially at the time as donor funds. And we just couldn't get it moved. Along with bocce ball, and we had,
Good ideas.
oh, geez. Yeah. So can be a very active committee. Certainly we have need for it on both ends of the spectrum. From children to the retirees.
All the way from skateboarding to pickleball.
That's when we got That was when I was on the committee, when we got pickleball going. That was, I couldn't believe how fast that.
I just read that. I have a suggestion.
Yes,
I would recommend we appoint Megan and Carl to 3-year terms. I think this is an opportunity to put Isabel, who seemed to have an outstanding resume for this, into the 1-year billet, and then make an alternate with Ethan.
Yes.
For what term?
What term? Ethan would
How
be-
many years would the alternate serve?
I don't know. Don't they know
We
this?
generally don't put terms
Terms
on
is
the
accepted.
alternates. They're there for life. Wow, until they're promoted.
They usually fleet up.
I see.
I would second that.
I was gonna say, was that a motion?
Yes, that's a.
Yeah, I was
I
wondering.
just don't know these.
I would have seconded too.
Oh, I'm gonna
I
let
never
Esther
jumped in.
second. That was so, because you were very excited.
Yes, so excited, I'll second that.
okay. Comments on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Last is the Conservation Commission. Go to the board.
I'll make a motion to appoint Charlotte Tate and Amy Sheldon to the Conservation Commission.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Phew, I'm done.
Okay.
Here we go.
Not quite yet.
So I would like to thank everybody who applied, and I would like to encourage those who we did not appoint yet to not give up. We're going to capture your name now, you're on a short list. Thank you.
We are happy to be in the position of having too many candidates who want to participate in our.
So I was thinking, could we put something out in the email blast and just thank them all? Just how appreciative the board is in having such a hard decision to make, and thank you, and
Are you talking about incorporating that into the highlights?
I'm thinking of doing it however it's easiest for you. I just would,
Well,
I guess I'd like something a little bit separate.
So,
we can talk about that, but I think it's just a note from the board.
Okay.
This is truly, I mean, 8:15, we're supposed to be done at 7:30, we would normally be done at 7:30. That big struggle with that.
I just want to express appreciation for people stepping up and showing interest and thanking them for that. Thanking them for making our job extremely difficult.
You know, there's a lot of good energy in the town right now after what we've gone through, so this is just
It's great.
indicative of what it is.
It's great to see.
Hey,
Okay, not to try to prolong the board meeting any longer.
One-
While you're waiting, but we're talking, you can bring Chief on, or is he gonna come on?
one quick comment, in Montpelier, we kind of skirted our obligations here, and we actually had executive session when we had extra positions under some portion of that to discuss the candidates outside the public view, which was certainly easier. Yeah, anyway,
Hey, Chief.
Good evening.
Good evening. I think yours is gonna be a lot quicker than the last agenda item.
I think it'll be very much quicker. I'll try to keep it under 2 minutes.
all right.
This is the annual adoption of the town's emergency management plan. There's a lot of stuff in this plan. I sent Kathleen a draft of it to see some clerical fixing up on it. But all the salient things are in there that should be approving. It's a legal document, and just so you understand exactly what you're approving, this is all goes through Title 20. And this is where all the authority comes, and the requirement for you to have one of these plans. In this plan, the town manager has sole authority in the town to authorize emergency capital purchases and duties to declare an emergency. And with that, we set up a designation of emergency and terror successors. In other words, if Kathleen is not available or she's incapacitated in some manner, there's a list of 5 other people in order which could assume the duties of the town manager in an emergency and declare the emergency, request for state aid, and things like that. It's important that if some major disaster did happen and the town manager or the successor declares an emergency, that opens the way for state aid. In other words, if we needed whatever, you call it something from the National Guard, we would have to pay for it. Unless you declare an emergency and then had the governor likewise declare an emergency, in that case, the state pays for it. So it's important to just know these kind of things that you're adopting when you adopt this plan.
So
The emergency purchases is another one. This is not trying to circumvent board authority on approving purchase orders or anything like that. This is solely to be able to prosecute an emergency where the normal process isn't available at the time. It allows bills to be paid, that sort of thing. And finally, there's a couple of new additions to this year's plan. We added a couple of annexes dealing with the Amtrak incidents. This came from Amtrak and a training that we had with Amtrak. We also put one in for pandemic preparation as well. So that's in there. And finally, we have this kind of a checklist. This came out of one of the state exercises we had. Is how do you open up an EOC? And so we developed a process for doing that. Anybody can just pick this up and look at it and be able to open the EOC yourself.
Chief,
Like that is that. Yes. I'm sorry.
could you please identify what an EOC is? Okay,
That's it. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I guess,
And
I'm speaking of officials on call.
I did know what PD stood for. Too many acronyms.
The back of the plan, we have a whole section on a dictionary on all the acronyms.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't get that far.
And it's pretty exciting. If you want to get to the back of the plan to look at that.
Yeah, so this plan is 179 pages.
But that's pretty much it, other than just basic updates to different town departments and some of the resource information that we go through for months to try to prepare for this plan. And that's it. It is due at the regional planning on May 1st. We'll get it out Friday when we just finish up doing some of the, I don't know what you call it, fix on the plan out to get the page numbers right and things like that. So your business now is, to adopt the plan. Or not adopt it, I guess.
please,
I move to adopt the 2022 Middlebury Emergency Operations Plan as presented.
Second.
Are there any questions of Chief?
Is this in a lockbox somewhere? And do I get a key as number 5?
I've got it in a suitcase that I carry around. It's all over the
Oh.
Nice.
Oh, it's a public document, so anybody can get it. We both do a town clerk's office.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, those a resounding aye, Chief. Thank you for joining us this evening.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Steve.
On the dam.
There are 8 pages of acronyms, ending on page 158.
That's just the way
And I
the
totally
government
missed it.
swings.
I didn't make it that hard. I could have answered my own question, EOP, Emergency Operations. Or, oh, no, it was an EOC.
yes.
Then there's an EOP, and then there's an EOT. There's gonna be a test at 9 o'clock.
Thanks, Ryan.
Waking up for.
Oh, sorry, I had you off the screen. There we go.
Hey, Dan. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. All right. So the first item is approval of paving bid.
I'm getting feedback, is that,
The sound is really good on you, Dan, for us.
is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I just live in a what's called a multiverse, is that what it is?
No.
Anyway, first item is a paving bid. This is for Katy Road. Just a little quick background. A few years ago, and Brian may be the only one who remembers this, we had an agreement, three-way agreement with Carrera and lumber company Johnson about doing some paving on Schoolhouse Hill Road is a joint three-way agreement. That's languished for many, many years. So in short, the infrastructure committee decided to use those funds, which is about 139,000 change, to do some paving in the East Middlebury area. So we got the bids back. It was kind of stretched the budget after we had gotten Colonial Drive bid out. So what we're asking tonight is for the board to approve just the one paving bid for Champlain Construction to do Katy Road. That's for $450,489. In the future board meeting, we'll come back to you to approve, hopefully, Pike's bid for just doing North Branch Road. That number has to be agreed upon with them because we're gonna knock off part of their initial bid for the North Branch, or for Lino Lane Kings Road project. So we got a little work on that one yet. So anyway, the first item is approving Champlain Construction for Katy Road for $450,489. And that would start in June, probably.
And then you're looking for us to approve utilizing the funds that have been set aside for Schoolhouse Hill Road as well?
Yes, that's the first item, and you can do that, and then you can move to do the contract with Champlain for where the bid is.
I'll move to approve using the funds set aside for the Schoolhouse Hill Road project for the paving of Katy Road.
Any questions on that?
Can I just make a quick note? I don't think it was really stated or cleared in here, but when we get to Seymour Street, that road would qualify for a Class 2 paving grant as well. And we got a Class 2 paving grant for Katy Road, and it was Dan's expert opinion that it would be beneficial to show the state us using this sooner rather than later, so we could apply again, hopefully in a short amount of time to do maybe some more street. So I just want to add that. Did I get that right, Dan?
Yeah, very good. Absolutely, right on.
I didn't realize the condition of Katy was in need of rebidding.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I mostly bicycle on it, and I thought it's all right.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Your seat must be squishy than mine. Yeah.
don't drive.
He's on a fat car.
Oh,
He
yeah.
just doesn't even know there's a bump.
No, 120 PSI road bike, but okay,
Don't drive that road in a commercial.
very good.
Okay. We have a motion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
I'll move to award a contract to Champlain Construction for the Katy Road paving project at a total cost of $450,489.
Second.
Questions on that? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Next one, I'm gonna recuse myself because it has to do with my company.
Oh, okay.
All right, so the next item is a highway tractor for roadside mowing. Bill Curran went out and requested bids, proposals for a tractor with a mower deck. And he got two bids back, one from Champlain Valley Equipment and the other one from United Ag and Turf, which formerly is known as, it's a John Deere dealer, on Route 7. for those aren't familiar with that. So anyway, Bill, got some prices back from them, and the low bidder that is what we call responsible, in other words, they have what we need. The Champlain Valley equipment is for a New Holland T-5-120 tractor. And with mower, it comes up to $136,326. And that's Bill's recommendation to the infrastructure committee, and requesting the board to approve that bid.
I'll move to award a contract to Champlain Valley Equipment for the purchase of a New Holland T-5-120 tractor with the RBM 20/50 mower attachment with a 5-year extended warranty for a total cost of $136,326.
Second.
All right.
I'm curious, why we're going from the loader to the tractor for this work.
Well, the main thing is the mower attachment that was used on that loader is no longer manufactured. And it was produced by a little company. I think they're out of Washington State, I believe, and that unit is no longer made. And I don't think there's a replacement.
Tractors are cool.
nationwide.
Well, the tractor will have a bucket on it, and so it will still be able to do some of the same functions
Okay.
that the loader would be able to do.
Okay.
Because it will have a bucket on the tractor, and so,
So
and I
it's
think it's
almost
I think it's a, lower cost,
It's a side,
but still equivalent and useful piece of equipment. Does that make sense?
yeah, it's a side mount arm mower that, like,
Yeah.
see some of the state roads use.
Like you've seen them other towns
sure.
mowing, yeah. Okay,
This isn't on the.
no, it will have normal.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5 and 1 abstention.
Next, we're going on to the teen center.
Okay. Yeah, so, Bill requested some bids for doing the, insulation and windows and siding work on the teen center, and we didn't get any. So everybody's real busy. So we talked around this at the infrastructure committee, and basically what we'd like to do is to have, Bill and Judy, Bill Carmen and Judy Harris work on being somewhat general contractors on it. One of the first things that happen are the windows that need to be put in. It would be tremendous heat savings. So that's the path we're going to take. We really haven't. I don't think Bill has talked to Judy about being a general contractor.
I talked to you.
And maybe that's something we can. Did you, Kathleen?
I did.
Okay. All right.
We've hired a Judy enough at this point, we
All right.
might as well just put her on the payroll.
So yeah, so that's how we're gonna approach it. Hopefully get a little cost savings by using maybe some smaller, contractors around here to get that thing moving. So that's what the request is to approve Judy as act as a general contractor and serve for the building and my own.
Go ahead. I move to approve Judith Harris to act as general contractor for the teen center windows project to purchase windows and facilitate installation of windows.
Second.
Questions? None, all in favor, I would say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, library.
Library, Dana Hart has a memo in your packet about a bid recommendation for doing the restoration of the historic windows at the library. There was one bid, it was from Willow Street Traditions LLC. This is the same company that did the work last, it was about a year, 2 years ago, on the other historic windows. These are the ones on first and second floor that face the parking lot. This project is the main entrance and the front facade of the building. Those large double hungs. You have 2 entrance doors, and which are now were formerly coat racks of that building. So it's the ones that are most visible from the public inside and out. Anyway, the bid for the work is from Willow Street Traditions, $26,895. And she did get a grant for part of the project. It's $9,687, $9,687, and she had money set aside for this specifically for this project of also $9,687, and then she's going to tap some capital money left over from the previous roof project to fund the project. So the request is to have you approve Willard Street Traditions bid of $26,895.
I'll move to award a contract to Willard Street Traditions LLC for the final phase of the restoration of the Isley Library historic windows at a total cost of $26,895.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Dan, welcome.
Okay, so there's a memo and lengthy description from Bill Kernan about replacing the pump out of well 2, which is also called Palmer Springs well. The estimate is $38,000, $43,000. We had some work done on this well over the past few months, and when they pulled it, there's some pump wear. It's a little beyond what everybody wanted to see, but it's been in there for, I can't remember, is it 12 years maybe? It's pumped a heck of a lot of water. It's the main well pump for the town. So he's requesting we award the work to Ross Valve. They are from New York. The company that did supply the well that's in there now no longer does and are no longer in business. So they're going to an alternate source. So the request tonight is for you to approve the work by Ross Valve to replace that pump in that well pit.
I move to award a contract to Ross Valve for replacing Palmer Springs well pump number 2. The cost estimate between $38,000 and $43,000.
Second.
Any questions on that?
So I'm just curious, you've got a working pump in there now, you're getting a new pump because it's showing signs of wear. Do you leave the existing pump until it dies, or do you put the new pump in?
It'll go in as soon as this new one arrives and they can schedule the work. What's happened is when that pump shuts down, there's can't see my hand, but there's bearing wear, and that pump will just vibrate, and the whole motor will just sit there and just kind of shake on the stand. So it's time to get it out of there. We did the motor just a few months ago, and we don't want to have that motor damaged by that vibration. So we'll get it as soon as we can.
Good question. Anything else? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seymour Street.
Okay, so I think your last board meeting, you had some comments from Kevin Verizzo, who's a Seymour Street resident, about the ditches and drainage and just general conditions to Seymour Street. So the infrastructure committee had a discussion about it. Just to refresh, back in 2002, we had Otter Creek Engineering prepare, engineering design, redesign of that road and storm sewer, gravity sewer, force main sewer, and water main. In the end, we only did the water main, because the town was just not setting enough funds aside to do this kind of work. So, at that time, the road surface was just recycled and a very thin coat of paper put on it, hoping we get about 7 years out of it. Here we are about 20 years later. So, in other words, it's tired and it's due. So, as Heather mentioned earlier, that's a Class 2 road, and so we qualify for a Class 2 paving grant in the future. Hence the need to do Katy Road and get that off the state's books. And so this road would qualify for a Class 2 paving grant. Now, obviously, it's going to be more money than that, but it's a big help. So what we're going to do is pull out those plans, have Otter Creek Engineering take a good look at them, and then prepare cost estimates for the project. I believe sanitary sewer will not have a problem, or the sewer fund will not have a problem doing their part. It's just going to be mostly the road portion and how we schedule that. But anyway, the point is we're going to pull it out, dust it off, and look at some costs for us when we get into August, September for capital improvement plan to see where it'll fit in. So that's where that's at. And in my note, the Tri-Town Bike Loop is going to use that route for their project, and so it'd be a good time to kind of get thoughts on that and see what might help that process too.
I also know
Any thoughts?
the comments about trying to incorporate some green infrastructure. A lot of work.
Yes.
I have a couple of spares upstairs.
Okay, I just want to educate myself a little bit what we talked about.
Yeah, so this project at this point in time would be a good opportunity to take a look at that. And it says Bill will connect with Otter Creek to modify the plans, but I'm assuming that meant Dan would. Yeah. Hey, Dan, can I ask you a question? Do you recall if
Sure.
the original plans included the pump station replacement in that? The
I think it was just for. Go ahead.
I wasn't sure if I was using.
I think it was just a force main from.
Go, Dan,
Yeah.
I'll be quiet.
I think it was just a force main from that pump. I think it was just a force main from that pump station, and then also the gravity sewer, which is they're all on the west side of that street.
I think we should consider either as part of this project or as part of the wastewater treatment plant upgrades, considering replacing some of these older pump stations that aren't in very good shape. Like we need to start getting on that as well, I think.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a chat with Bob Wells about what his needs are for that. I mean, that station does not have a permanent standby generator. It's a trailer thing, and I know there's not a lot of usage at that pump station, but there's no way he's going to get a trailer down into that hole at that pump station. So we'll have a chat about that.
Okay.
Get that sorted out.
And I heard, I don't remember if I heard or read that Virgin's got a pretty sizable grant from USDA. So I'm hoping we might be able to get some funds as well and maybe bang off some of this deferred maintenance, at least on the sewer side of things. We still have to address the road and stuff, so anyway.
Right. Okay. If there's no further questions, I'll go on to
Overnight parking?
to the next one, which is overnight parking. Yeah, the committee just kind of got a refresher, on, how we were doing with where these overnight parking spots were. Chief Hanley did a good coverage on that. But I just wanted to, refresh the board and the public. We put these maps of where these overnight parking places are on the town website. So when people either approach you or have a question about like parking, or someone comes into the town offices, we can show them or refer them to this map so they know where they're at. So that was the
This was a
kind of
new,
wrap up of the overnight parking situation.
this is a new addition to the website, right? Yeah, I think this might be all we needed for solution is the.
Now that we have that up, we can add it to our annual notice that we do in the fall, saying that on-street parking is not allowed.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, thanks, good solution. Anything else for Dan, or anything else you have for us, Dan?
I'm finished.
You're good?
Unless you have something else.
Okay,
Thanks, Dan.
Okay.
thanks a lot, Dan.
All right. Thanks. You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Good night.
Thanks, Dan.
Should we adjust the agenda to get the
Okay.
shot?
Unless it was a church family present.
They are not present, but
You're not
we're
present.
ready to go on that. Either way, I think we can go into today.
Dave, come on forward. Look, we're gonna move you up if there's not somebody else on the agenda, please.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
So, Chief Shaw's here
Yes.
to talk to us about some turnout here.
Right, we're back for our annual request to allow us to become compliant with the NFPA requirement for turnout gear. This year, our request would be for 5 cents. Turnout gear for a total amount of $11,820.68.
He's speaking so softly because it's been here so long.
Is that what it is? I like your idea about how to pan out.
Dave, you had me going a little bit, because I thought you said 5 cents.
That's what I heard.
Well, that would be great.
That's what I heard too. You know, I got you.
I feel like I'd start over.
Yeah, five cents on the tax rate.
I don't know about you, Dave, but I'm getting a little older and I'm hard to hear it. So
I think, Brian, you and I are in the same boat, going two different directions, but it's fine. I did notice a typo, I write 6 and then put 5 there, so keep me guessing. But it is for 5 cents.
I'll move to award a contract to Bergeron Protective Clothing under the sole source purchase provision of the purchasing policy for the purchase of 5 sets of firefighting turnout gear at a total cost of $11,820.68.
Second.
second, any questions or comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Super, thank you much.
Is there anything else you should know while you're here?
Yes, we actually have a new fire truck. It did arrive. It's not a fictitious thing. It actually does exist. It arrived yesterday, yeah.
I heard it arrived this week.
Yeah, so it
When's
came
our
in yesterday.
next-
So the next select board meeting, we'll have that back before the meeting.
Wow.
Feel it and touch it and all that.
Can you remind me how much we paid for that?
$600,000. Yeah.
A lot of money.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of truck and, yeah.
Exciting.
Have you taken it for a spin yet?
Yeah. Of course I take it. Sign the papers, I'm spinning the wheels off that before, yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah, it should be, I mean,
Yeah,
we're
that lot of money.
a lot of work in it, 2.5 years worth of committee work, so, yeah. Thank you.
How's your enrollment?
Well, I was just gonna say, you have way too much help here, we certainly could do that 5 C more. That's not getting any better, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, we were just at a conference this weekend, all in the same boat, statewide. Actually close to fire department because of it, so. We're best, we're remodeling our website and working on that, and that's really what we need to reach out to possible members, that's the medium that they're using the most, so. We'll reach out.
You should think about maybe the markets in town and stuff, while people are going about.
Yeah.
Well, Take advantage of the nonprofit night at the Thursday market.
I'm gonna start at the jazz thing at the Middlebury Inn first.
Yeah, and if you come to trivia at the Marquee, there's about 60 people there who
Good.
look young and healthy.
Good. Perfect.
Which department closed?
Down in southern Vermont, Vernon, they shut it down and we started it back again. Yeah, there was some issues there for sure. That's it.
Wow.
And then I replaced that extension cord. So that extension cord, we have a similar fire because of an extension cord like that, that's constantly wound up. You create an electrical coil.
Oh,
You
yeah.
see how that one's all twisted toward the end? Yeah, so
Yes,
we'll buy a new one.
appreciate that.
You're gonna bring it in with your turnout.
We're bringing up a new truck.
All right, all right.
That's it. Thank you all for
Okay, thanks, Jake.
Thank you.
So I should not store my extension cord like
Yeah, just don't know why nobody
that? Okay, very good.
uses it.
Definitely wrap all my extension
Well,
cords.
yeah, me too. I do them all.
You don't wanna start that house on fire, it's too big, we don't have enough firemen to like
That's
put
right.
that far out. And that-
Okay, next is a request from the Churchill family of 1 Forest Lane for the conveyance of additional property from the town. Remember in September, we approved a request from the Churchill Family Trust, creating a 50-foot by 62-foot parcel, 0.07 acres of town-owned land at 1 Forest Lane, beneath the garage structure on the property. The family is now seeking board approval for a second claim deed request, this time comprising 2 small adjacent parcels totaling 0.12 acres. The proposed boundary line adjustment would encompass lands that now include a fenced dog yard and a septic system on the property. At our March 22nd meeting, the board discussed the church's request and expressed several concerns. One was the value of the property. And based on the assessed value of a large parcel of land in the high-density residential zoning district, 100.5 acres assessed at $350,500 or $3,487.56 per acre. The calculated value of the total of the 1.19 acres, which is the 0.07 acres that we've already claimed, and the 2020 already approved, in the 2021 plus the additional 0.12 acres that we're currently reviewing would be $662.63. Prior to our March meeting, Kathleen negotiated the value of $1,500 for the Churchill family. In response to concerns expressed at the meeting, subsequently negotiated an agreed upon value of $2,500 for the Churchill family. The other concern was setback required for the fence. And Kathleen has confirmed that there is no setback requirements for fences. Subsequent to the meeting, Fred Dunnington provided a copy of the Churchill's deed, which includes an easement for a town water line. Kathleen has shared this information with the surveyor, who will work with council to recognize this easement in any claim deed that we approve. As a reminder, the proposed conveyance of town-owned land will trigger a required public notification process under 24 VSA section 1061. The board is amenable to the request. The next step would be to authorize Kathleen to work with council to draft the required 24 VSA section 1061 notice, including a draft quitclaim deed for the conveyance of the 0.19 acres total of town-owned land at 1 Forest Lane to the Churchill family.
I think we should probably do this. I really don't like the idea of people building on land that isn't theirs, as we discussed previously. Here we are.
I'll move to authorize town manager Kathleen Lindsay to work with the council to draft the required 24 VSA 1061 notice, including a draft quitclaim deed for the conveyance of 0.19 acres of own the land located at 1 Forest Lane to the Churchill family.
Any comments on the motion? I think Kathleen has brought us at least a reasonable offer for the value of the land and solves a long-term problem. It's that. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I guess it's an aye, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, approval of town's consent of merger was deleted, postponed. Report on our April 19th annual strategic plan retreat. For those that are watching, we had our annual board retreat, where we talked about what the priorities are. And just so everybody knows, we're in Jen Murray, our town planner, spent the better part of our retreat, good hour and a half, reviewing with us the proposed changes to zoning that would bring the town forward to the way people live today versus the more traditional zoning of decades ago, post-World War II, I'd say. There's a number of changes. The process is now, after the board has gotten a look at it, had a chance to make comments. The process is moving forward. Went through the DRB, I believe, or it's coming up this month.
And then it went to the planning commission, the planning commission has approved it for, has warned it.
Warned it, so now it's gone to the adjacent town, or will be sent to the adjacent towns.
And it is all now posted on the town's website.
So anybody who's interested, we would encourage you to go to the town's website, review it. I was very, I won't speak for my other board members, but I was very impressed with the work that the team has been doing to review, update zoning. And I think there's a lot of good changes that provide opportunity for infill housing and stuff that we've been asking for over the course of the last half dozen years. So we look for the town to provide comments as we move forward and schedule hearings on this. Otherwise, we reaffirm our priority to, yes, encourage growth in housing that supports our working class and lower income families in the community. And this zoning, these zoning revisions are one of the activities that the town is working very hard to help make that happen. And secondly, to do what we can to try to encourage and promote growth in childcare opportunities for the average family. Did I miss anything?
That's good.
Three biggies.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to comment since the meeting to Jen, but in a lot of what my comments were when I went back and looked at my notes was about acronyms. And then when I saw when Chief pointed out the acronym glossary in the plan, I wondered if we could do the same thing for this. So there are places where the acronyms are identified, but it's often at the beginning of a section. And then if you're looking for a specific section, you go to that section. You have to then search for the acronyms, and I just wondered if it would be
Glossaries are useful.
possible to put an acronym glossary for this. I think that would be my biggest comment. request for this particular document, other than what Jen has already covered with us.
If there's nothing else, I'm gonna ask Dan for the check warrants.
Okay, I move to approve total expenditures in the amount of $315,111.72, consisting of $210,000, $210,167.10 for accounts payable, and $104,944.62 for payroll for the period of April 13th, 2022 through April 26th, 2022.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, board member concerns. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Kathleen. The spreadsheet that you put together with
The appointments was so, nothing. And
Oh,
I'm thinking about some even further improvements on that.
yeah, but when I was doing my homework, I felt good. I was able to read and understand.
Always appreciate it.
Yeah, so thank you. This
The
was
color coding, I love.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that was so helpful.
Yeah.
But hard night with all the appointing, appointing people, different places, but it was a good one, so thank you.
Andy,
Um,
you're Andy Hooper.
yeah, man, Hubert, thanks. Well, I was just making sure that checking to see if the colored paper had been replaced by a bona fide plastic. Doesn't feel very efficient.
He feels
Um,
like he's a real board member.
That's
now.
right.
All right.
Belong. I spent Saturday morning walking the Meads land with a neighbor who is more concerned about the development than my wife and I are. Trespassing, I guess it's called. But we were walking around in the mud and trying to imagine there's one trespassing. Anyway, personally very excited about the potentials there, and it's a neat piece of property, and we're probably gonna say better sidewalk or continuous sidewalk, and it's exciting.
Good. So person viewpoint. Heather,
We can put you more sidewalk, as long as we can have a conversation that I want to have about manpower and equipment.
No, absolutely.
And then I'll talk about more sidewalk. I'm good.
yeah,
I'm fine and don't need any sidewalks where I live, so I'm fine.
so it's 9 o'clock. I thought we were gonna get done a little bit early. I jinxed us.
You didn't knock
Yes.
when I told you to knock on the
Yes.
door, you didn't, because
Yes.
you thought I was being silly, and now we see that I'm right.
So I am surrounded by ladies who are always right.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. This is a real problem for me. And it doesn't do much for my ego, but I once again stand. We do have need for an executive session for an update on real estate. Somebody would take us into executive session.
Oh, you passed that up.
I passed the torch on that one.
Good night.
Good night, Jen.
Gotcha.
In accordance with Vermont's open meeting law requirements, I move that the board find that future general knowledge of the consideration of real estate would clearly place the select board at a substantial disadvantage because the select board risks disclosing its litigation strategy if it discusses the real estate in public.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I further move that the board enter into executive session to discuss real estate under the provisions of Title I, Section 313A1 of the Vermont statute.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So move into executive session. 9:02.
Recording stopped.
You know?